Hi, I'm Tony D'Amore. I'm the Director of Creative Workflow here at Picture Shop, as well as a Senior Colorist. Fargo Season 4 takes place in Kansas City in the 1950s. It's about rival gangs vying for territory, and eventually we end up in a black and white world, which is how we get into the episode East-West.
They're gonna kill all of you. You know that, right?
Sunday.
If I don't come back, I'm dead or in jail.
Something out of the ordinary.
The look started in pre-production, actually. Dana Gonzales, the director of photography, came to me and explained the project. He told me that he wanted to be in Kodachrome, actually autochrome, and there's going to be some Tri-X footage. And he wanted to create LUTs for each of those looks before we even started filming. And he used those LUTs on set when they're doing makeup and wardrobe tests, and then when they were going into set design. The LUT is actually very complex for the Kodachrome look, which is the majority of the show, which takes place in the 50s when autochrome was prevalent. It starts with a black and white image, and then I'm actually going in and narrowing each of the primary color spectrum down to get the same look you would have with Kodachrome film. We actually use actual Kodachrome still images as reference, and we kind of reverse engineered the LUT from those stills that Dana supplied. East-West was actually a departure from the rest of the season as far as the look goes. This was when we went to Tri-X black and white film stock. That was something that, again, I had a LUT that Dana used on set to pre-visualize, and we graded to that LUT. And I actually used in the color corrector, I used the monochrome mode and actually started with a color image and then placed the color grade in black and white, still preserving that color information. And then I used the RGB primaries to adjust the tonality shot to shot. I think it was something that I hadn't done before, and it was new to Dana as well, and we were really satisfied with the outcome, especially since it was chosen for the FilmLight Award.
Creating the color looks of Fargo Season 4 was a unique challenge for Tony D'Amore and I. I wanted to have a vintage Kodachrome look, and I also wanted to have a vintage black and white Tri-X look that kind of emulated the vintage formula that Robert Frank used in his book, The Americans. The whole season being period, with the majority of it in color, when we went to the black and white episode, East and West, I wanted it to make sure that it blended in the same way. I didn't want it to be just a desaturated black and white. I wanted it to have the texture and tonality of that vintage film that I love so much. So Tony and I created the looks through a resolve-based LUTs, dailies, post-process. We utilized the color information with the monochrome module and Resolve to work with the tonalities of the wardrobe and production design that also was designed to work with that kind of color palette. So, the look is amazing. I've never done anything quite like it. And my shorthand with Tony is the only way that could have happened. I congratulate Tony D'Amore and Picture Shop on really helping me create that amazing look. And I look forward to our future collaborations.
Dana Gonzales and I have worked together for years, actually. The first series we did together was Fargo. It was Fargo Season 1. And since then, we worked on Hannah and Legion and back on Fargo again. Dana and I at this point have a shorthand, and I think in knowing that, it's why he came to me for this project. We knew that it was going to be something that required a lot of forethought and collaboration along the way, especially once the principal photography started. We kind of needed that trust that he knew that I was going to do my end and that I knew that he was going to get everything I needed based on our conversation up front. Once we started, it was a matter of the series adapted because we start in the 1920s in this autochrome look. And there's a bit of back and forth on that look. We wanted the image to feel like autochrome was like a potato dye. Is you got a little bit more monochromatic color images, and the lensing would fall off along the edges, so you would get more of a shadowed vignetting on the edges. So he and I needed to develop that together. We went back and forth on finalizing that look, and then once they started shooting and delivering the majority of the show, which was Kodachrome, it was then a matter of dialing that look in and adapting as we went, because at some point I think we realized that the look could get a little strong. And so depending where the story was, we didn't want the color to be dictating the story. Ideally, you want the color to be something that's in the background. So it was a matter of finding the sweet spot for the look. And I think we really got our stride. In terms of what's next for me, I'd like to get more involved with the American Society of Cinematographers. During COVID, I actually became an associate member of the ASC, and I'd really like to use that connection to help bridge the post-production technology to production. And it's becoming more important than ever before, because in the past you'd shoot your project and then you do the editing and then it would go to final color. And aside from picking lenses and film stock, etc., there wasn't a whole lot of colorist connection to production. Nowadays, with technology where it's at, it's becoming more important than ever to bridge that gap and get the colorist on board early on, like we did in the case of Fargo. We developed lookup tables that were used to help choose wardrobe, wall colors and set design, etc. And as far as even exposure, with Fargo, the LUTs we used actually had a great deal of effect on where the exposure was. So Dana was shooting to those and the other DPs for the season. And it was important that we were involved up front and early, and the end result became that much more beautiful. And so that's what I'd like to do, just make sure that we're bridging that gap. And I want to further my relationship with the ASE now that I'm a member. Winning the FilmLight Color Award is a great honor. I want to first thank FilmLight for having the awards in the first place. Putting the post-production in the spotlight is something that you don't see very often. There are other awards we've seen over the years, but it's nice seeing a reputable company like FilmLight holding something like this. And it's even more of an honor to have been chosen the first year to have won. So thank you for that.